All right, we're live.
Excellent.
Wow. Welcome, everybody. Last weekly roundup of 2021, December 23rd. It's been a whirlwind. We made
It
it.
really
Ben.
has. We
We
did.
made it. We made it. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to go over just like the usual, or what are you going to do? You got something special?
No, don't have a special. It
Yeah.
was quite the busy day
Was.
this
Yeah.
week. Lots going on still. People are winding into the end of the year. So lots
Yeah.
of trading too, making changes into end of tax year. So it
Yep.
was quite a bit of action today.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
And before I forget, just a reminder, everybody that's on this now and everybody watching the recording, if you have contributions for our ESP, they have to be in before the calendar year. Am I right with that, Ben?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yes,
So that's
yes.
December 31st. Is that the date?
Yeah.
December 31st. And then RRSPs, obviously. That's in at the end of March sometime.
Yeah.
And also TFSAs you can do anytime, but if anybody wants to do those contributions, it's best to get them in earlier than later, because we obviously got bogged down early in the year with all those things. And our ESP, if you want to contribute to that, definitely get that in.
Yeah.
Because I think we're only in the office a couple days next week, right?
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Canadian markets closed. Banks are closed as well, of course. So we can't process transactions if the banks are closed. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Yep.
Okay, now we got all that out of the way. Let's get right into the meat then. What's going on in the markets in late December, right before Christmas? Is it busy?
Yeah.
The volumes, like people trading? I know you are. Are you the only one?
Yeah. Sitting here by myself, doing my work.
Yeah.
No, so I guess I think the year tends to predicate how the market reacts in December. So yeah, I think we had a fair amount of tax adjustments early December. So as we get into, I guess we're the third week now, seems like most of that action is done. So, what typically tends to happen as you come into the end of the year, the things that have done well tend to get bought, which is counterintuitive, but that's what happens. The 10 things that tend to have done poorly tend to get sold and sold further down. And so, I did some of the inverse of that. The last little while was sell some of those things that are up and buy some of the things that are down. So, there is typically a ton of opportunity into December. It does take a bit of time and work to find and explore which names have been kind of hit the worst and the hardest. As people tend to be away, markets are quieter, stocks can trade in pretty wide ranges, but looking at good companies that are down 70-80% this year in an up market, it tends to present opportunities. So that's really what I've been looking at and been doing. And on top of that, it looks like the first quarter of this year is going to be a little bit different than we would have talked about a couple of weeks ago. So as a result of that, on top of that, tends to make me look at, okay, if I own this and it's only up 1 or 2%, but it doesn't typically do well when inflation slows, then maybe I want to switch it into something else now and just be prepared for what's happening in the quarter ahead. So for me, it's always lots of fine tuning happening into December, really starting to think about what the next year looks like too. And so I tend to be quite busy coming into Christmas, really trying to position portfolios as people are kind of asleep in the markets right now.
Yeah, for sure. You have been probably the busiest I've seen you all year. Just with no, that's not. It's just you've been insanely busy trying to get everybody straightened out for the end of the year.
Yep.
So I think you're doing a good job with that. So that's good.
Yep.
All right. So what did I guess you just talked about what you got up to this week. What do you?
Yeah, yeah. So even like, I mean, there was so many, I guess, trades that happened over the past week and a half. I don't really, not going to definitely go through each one, but some of the things like simple that I was doing where, Japan doesn't look great. So, I take a small gain on that one to buy the yen, because the yen typically does well as the global economy slows. So that's some of the trade. Actually did buy some bonds too, added to the US 10-year and the US 30-year. So it does look like bonds have moved. The yields on the 10-year have touched lower highs, which again kind of signals what the economy is likely to do next year. So bought some bonds. So quite a bit of repositioning. As for individual names, we can, if anyone has questions about that, we can hash them out early in the next year. But lots of switches to from a tax perspective, like I sold Ooster, which was a name that I liked, to buy another SPAC that I think should bounce as much, but I'm taking the tax loss with the hope that the switch provides that 30 to 40% upside, which I think is likely in the name. So lots of changes and tax adjustments going on.
Gotcha. What do you have any good entries today for Ben's charts? Or no?
Yeah, I definitely did a chart deck. And I say deck because it's 5, maybe 6 with charts on it, so 5. But yeah,
Don't over your limit. Not allowed. Rules.
So yes.
All right. Well, since you have so many, do you want to get them now, or you got some more?
Sure.
Let's get them into them now.
Let's get after it here.
Buckle up, everyone. If you have any questions, as usual, I noticed a couple new people in the room that aren't normally there. So if you have any questions, just hover over the bottom of the screen. You should see a little Q&A button down there. Click that and just throw a question up if you have one.
Okay.
And if you're watching the recording, you can't do that.
All right. Let me get this up here. My screen always tends to want to do something different, right? When I mix it up, right?
Well, when we're live, yeah,
that's always the way.
It always works well in practice, and then we'll plot against you. Technology.
Exactly. Can you see it?
Yep.
All right. Good. Are we in the screen too as well, or we're good?
Yep, we're in there.
Okay.
Christmas tree.
Another Christmas tree. So got a few things I wanted to go through, but typical stuff. I'm going to give an update on the quads too, so we're going to go through that as well. But wanted to just kind of start it off with, we've talked a long time about the growth in the central bank balance sheets, and this has been really what the media has been talking about for quite a while now. And so just really wanted to show you the gauge and the size of what's happened to the balance sheet in the last 2 decades. Like, this has been the time which is the bulk of my career, the last 20 years, is the central banks' balance sheets have exploded. And so, everyone kind of thinks that, we actually go back to a certain level. The objective is to let's get this Federal Reserve's balance sheet back to a reasonable level. And so initially they thought this number would get somewhere back to maybe 2 trillion. And then at one point they're looking to get it down to 3 trillion. And, now we're approaching that $9 trillion number, where we've had massive expansion in their balance sheet in the last couple of years. So, if we look at what happened coming out of 2008, the balance sheet never shrank. Well, it did for a couple of seconds here and there, but the size of the balance sheet now in the US is so massive that I don't think there's any way you can unwind this at this point.
Mm.
So it plays a major part in what happens to interest rates.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Keep them rolling.
Keep them rolling. This was the year of the of Reddit, of the what are those stocks called? The YOLO stocks. And so this I wanted
Meme
meme stocks. Yeah. So this was a interesting look at, some of these names and what they've done and how they did in 2020 when everyone was excited about this, where things were going. Reddit, meme, all the attention go towards some of these stocks. I thought it was worthwhile having a look at some of how these names have traded in this past year. Obviously, Zoom was up 400% in 2020 and gave back 50% this year. This was a big Chinese company that was up kind of 400% and down 70. Some of these other names like C3. This is a really interesting AI company, up 200%, down 75. So I thought this was an interesting look at, some of these big high flying names have come down pretty hard. And that being said, some of these names in here present some of the best buying opportunities coming into this December. So interesting look at these companies.
When was GameStop and AMC? Was that in 2021?
2021, yeah. That was
It
this
was,
year.
yeah. That was this year. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that was this year, right?
I know.
Yeah.
They were early this year, right?
Very early, yeah. Yeah, GameStop traded at like $10, $12 coming into the start of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and we'll keep going here. There we go. Okay. So somebody has started to follow, putting out some great charts on what's happening with Canadian banks, and I think it's really interesting to pay attention to this. If Canada is going to be able to grow their economy in 2022, this is going to play a major role in what happens. Is real estate is the biggest GDP input, as we've talked about before. This was a recent update. It's the kind of worst home line of credit growth that we've seen since 2008. It's the most the mortgages have expanded and the consumer has contracted kind of at the same time. And so not that history definitely repeats itself, but it certainly does rhyme, and it's worth paying attention to this as, we start to see there's potentially less money for the consumer to spend, and home prices are likely peaking in around these levels. So it's interesting to pay attention to, first, if you want to own the bank stocks, and the second is what's going to happen to the economy. So there's a really interesting chart to pay attention to as to what's going to happen in Canada. Canada GDP came out today as well. It was decent, but certainly important to see what's going to happen next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good one.
Yeah. And the last two here we're going to hit the quads, and then we're going to hit a little bit of crypto, and then we're going to be done Ben's charts for the year. So, as we've talked about on the last multiple calls, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7, when anyone's asked, or I've been discussing kind of what the kind of unique challenge we see facing in 2022 is we start the year pegged around these kind of different axes, like right on the line of the X and Y axis here. We're kind of right in the middle, maybe a little bit to the left. And, are we in the top left or bottom left is kind of the big question. And it's a big question because the bottom left is recessionary type levels, where you see treasuries, gold, US dollar, yen, Swiss franc. Those asset classes are primarily the only ones that do well in that quad 4, where quad 1 is kind of the Goldilocks type, where inflation slowing and growth accelerating. But right now it looks like with the current forecast, we're pegged right along kind of the balance of those two lines. And so as I construct portfolios, I'm trying to kind of thread the needle. What does well in both of these outcomes? And one of the things that I did this week was, small caps don't tend to do well on this side of the axis. So reduced exposure to small caps with that look, and tried to kind of upgrade the portfolio. So this is kind of one of the challenges we face is, the economic data isn't super clear right now. But I'd say the probabilities continue to rise that we're going to be in kind of quad 1 and Q1 and quad 4 and Q2.
The elusive quad 4. Never really
Yes.
hit that in 2021, did we?
No, not in the US or Canada.
We came close.
We
Came close
did it. We did in China.
a couple times.
Yes. Any questions on
Okay.
that?
No.
All right. And so the last one is probably, as I put into my daily today, I believe, just kind of talking about where crypto was last year, and Bitcoin is at 23,000, and Ethereum was at $610 at the time. And so over the last 12 months, we've seen probably the biggest explosion of alternative coins that we've ever seen in this kind of life cycle since 2008 of crypto. And so still it's a really divided view as to what it is and who it is and what's blockchain and what's crypto. But really, this is the look at the top 20 coins in the world, with Bitcoin and Ethereum by far being the biggest. Market cap of crypto is now north of 3 trillion. But you got Bitcoin there about 1 trillion, and ETH about 500 billion. So big explosive year from a growth perspective. I think 2022 is going to be quite different. Not bad, but quite different. And you're going to see the speed of the evolution start to pick up quite dramatically. So this is a look at the top coins that are available in the world. And it's been really a big year of growth. And I think there's quite a bit of evolution now to come on this crypto journey.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I can't believe you just said what did you say they were at the start of the year?
So
23,000 for Bitcoin.
23,000 for Bitcoin and $610 for ETH.
Jeez. And we're at what now? What were they today?
Yeah, so we're looking at about 50,000 on Bitcoin and 4,000 on ETH. Yep.
It's good trades.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. You always end it with a bang there, eh? It's a good one.
That's it. I think there's a question popped up in the queue there.
Just Lyle saying Merry Christmas to the best team at MBF.
Nice. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Don't mind popping our tires. That's okay. All right. So slow next week, or what are we thinking of? Just more of the same, similar catching up type things? I mean, obviously we're off for 2 days, but what are we expecting for next week?
Yeah, so definitely volumes will continue to be crazy light. It's a strange year this year because tomorrow US markets are closed, which is rare that Canadian markets are open, the US are closed. So you get tomorrow is going to be probably insanely slow from a market perspective. We'll be just doing cleanup. We'll certainly be here to trade if somebody needs something until 1 o'clock when the markets close. But we'll also be doing cleanup, and then Monday, Tuesday, US will be open. We'll see. Hopefully not a lot. 2018, we saw kind of the bottom of the markets on Boxing Day. And we kind of went straight up from there going into 2019. So we'll see. I'll continue to pay attention. I think it'll be a quiet week next week. Maybe some of those names that have been beaten up into tax loss selling start to rally. We saw some of that today. Some of the names are up 10, 15, 20% today. So we continue to watch that. But Wednesday of next week is the last day for tax loss selling. So I may do a couple more cleanup trades there. But generally it'll be a pretty quiet week next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so since this is our last one of the year, what do you think are the 3 biggest things in the news as far as the markets are concerned from 2021?
Wow.
I'll start you off, and then you can, because I can put a little fun into this. So definitely the meme stock, crypto, and SPACs are 3 that I had, right?
Yeah.
All three of those things kind of exploded. Anything else
that exploded? Well, the passive investment thesis played out this year. So this was the year to do nothing and be passive. And so I think where that probably isn't screaming on the headlines, I think that's probably been the biggest underlying change where I look at it and say, indexing it drove things to where they are today. And I'm not going to say that today, December 31st, 2021 is the peak of passive investing, but I'm going to say it's pretty close. So, where a handful of stocks, no matter what the companies look like, drove everything. And history, when we've had this kind of massive concentration, which has driven numbers. On the other side of this, you tend to have a lot of pain for the index and for a lot of those companies that participate in the passive. So I'd say that is the meme stocks, the Reddit, like the Citadel, like, the payment for flow, like that whole thing that you just mentioned.
Mhm.
I'd say that was definitely a big topic this year and continues to be.
Mhm.
And I dug into kind of that payment for flow a bit more this week to see how much Citadel is cranking into Robinhood to get those order flows. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the US over the next couple of years. So I'd say passive, meme, and what's the third one that I would say played out
Crypto.
in crypto? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say crypto.
It was a breakout year for crypto,
It
really.
was a breakout year for your
Mainstream.
crypto. Yeah.
Became somewhat mainstream.
And I think if you would have asked me at the start of this year and told me where crypto had come over the past 12 months and still see a massive amount of pushback from the industry, from finance industry still with no interest in reviewing it, I would have been shocked because it's come a long, long way from where it was, 24 months ago and even 12 months ago, but there's still a huge, massive amount of resistance from it. So I'd say that's probably as big a surprise as the actual move in the prices over the past 12 months.
Mm-hmm. Any crystal ball comments from you for before the next year? What do we? So if those are the three things we saw from last year, what do you think? What are we looking at for next year?
Yeah, so I think from a general market perspective, everyone wanted to throw bonds to the side, saying it's garbage and you never want to own it. And so as you look at asset allocation and people are way over their skis, I'd say if you're making me force a call, I'd say bonds outperform stocks next year. And that would be kind of the crystal ball surprise. And so I'd say that's the big one. I'll stick with that and leave it there.
Okay. We'll have to go back to the tape this time next year, eh? We'll go
Yeah.
back to the tape. We'll make it do one prediction per year. See
Yeah.
if you're right about it. Well, you know what? If you are right, we'll definitely go back to the tape. If you're wrong, we'll forget all about it.
Exactly. Only a few people will call me out on it.
That's what they do on CNBC.
Yes.
They only remember the good ones.
That's it.
All right. You got anything else? Or are we gonna wrap it up for the year?
I think that's it. I think we'll wrap it up. I just want to say thank you to everyone for continuing to trust us and work with us. Thanks for always dialing in, listening to this, watching this. We're trying to add as much value as we can. We do have a bunch of guests lined up for next year, but if there's anything you think we could be doing better, either from the show or from anything else, please let us know, and we'll be happy to change and adjust. And we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, on that note, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to everybody.
Exactly. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.